Hi everyone, I'm back here with a Week 10 main slate breakdown. I just want to go over some of my top plays for the week and some of my overall thoughts on this slate. Feel free to leave a comment below, subscribe, let me know what you think of these videos, and seriously, any feedback is appreciated. I'd love to see where I can do better or things that people like about the videos. So, yeah, just let me know. And all right, I'm going to get into it here and start with wide receivers.
Okay, so I wanted to start at wide receiver this week because I think we have a general idea of where everybody's going to be going at running back. Mike Davis is priced at just 4,000, so he's essentially a free square this week. So I want to start with wide receiver. So Devontae Adams is priced at 9,000. I think he's still going to be one of the highest owned players on the slate. Now, I think the only thing that could be bringing down his ownership is the weather concern that's happening with the Green Bay game right now. They were implied about 34 points, and since then, it's come down to about 31. So maybe that gets some people off of him, but still 31 points. Even after it came down 3 points, it's still the highest total on the slate. Jacksonville's a great matchup, and you should expect because Jake Lutton's their quarterback on Jacksonville, that actually helps the Packers. Uh, Defense gets off the field quicker. Aaron Rodgers gets more possessions, and Devontae Adams more chances to score fantasy points. So the gusts like 25 mile per hour winds. I don't think that's enough for me to get off of Devontae Adams and his elite matchup and just elite workload for this entire year. So I think you're playing Devontae Adams this week. I can't justify not playing him for weather alone. So after Devontae Adams, the highest graded wide receiver for me this week is Keenan Allen. He comes in priced at 7,100, which is only 200 above Cooper Kupp. And Cooper Kupp should see some pretty significant ownership this week. But for me personally, I'm not sure if I can justify playing Cooper Kupp based on mostly more of a matchup play. When there's Keenan Allen, who's only 200 above him, who's just destroying every single week. So since Justin Herbert started in week 2, he's seen target counts of 10, 19, 11, 13, 12, and 11. And this excludes the Saints game where he exited early. He actually scored a touchdown in that game, but he exited very early in that game, and he only saw 2 targets. So without that game included, he's caught 56 of 76 passes, and he's put up 23.4 Draftkings points per game. So it's going to be hard for me to get off of Keenan Allen at 7,100. Again, Cooper Kupp, what the thing that's drawing ownership on him is obviously that Seattle matchup, and rightfully so. But again, I think Keenan Allen, independent of everything else, he's just a great play. So speaking of that Seattle game, we have Tyler Lockett coming in as the third highest rated wide receiver, and he's priced down at 6,500. Metcalf seems to be separating from him. He's at 7,600, very similar to last week. Lockett, I think he only put up around 8 points last week, but I don't think that's going to be scaring anyone. There's Travis Fulgham. He's priced at 6,400, but on a per game basis, he has been one of the best fantasy wide receivers in the league. Carson Wentz in general has not been playing great, but Fulgham has still been putting up great numbers. But Alshon Jeffrey returns this week for the first time in a long time, and I do think that Dallas Goedert will see an expanded role as well. The Eagles' offensive line is getting healthier. Lane Johnson is back. Jason Peters is expected to play. So the overall offense for the Eagles should look better, and Miles Sanders is back as well. So the overall offense should look better, but with Fulgham priced at 6,400, which is just 100 below Tyler Lockett, I'm not sure if he's going to find his way into cash lineups this week, but I do think in tournaments against the Giants, it could be a viable option. We have Brandon Cooks at 5,600. This just feels extremely underpriced to me. Last week I thought he was on his way to 30 plus after having that massive touchdown catch in the beginning of the game. He ends up having a moderate game, 17 points, nothing bad there. And last week he was only 5,500, I believe. So this week he's just 5,600. And I think since Bill O'Brien's left, in that first game against Jacksonville, and from there to now, Brandon Cooks has been a different player. He's being used more. So I think he's a great play in this spot for sure. And the price at 5,600, again, it just feels very low to me. The only concern here is the weather in Cleveland in that game. There's expected to be similar to the Packers game, heavy winds and some gusts and some rain. But I don't think like at that price, it's not very concerning to me. So like at 5600, it still seems like a great play to me. I don't want to get off of these great plays because of weather if it's nothing that's extreme weather where it's just snow and stuff like that. Beyond Brandon Cooks, there isn't much that stands out to me in terms of cash game plays. Um, DJ Moore is very low priced at 5100 against Tampa Bay. He's kind of underperformed all year. Christian Kirk is now priced up to 5700. So none of these guys in general stand out much to me, except for these Rams receivers, Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. But again, I don't want to play these guys based on just the matchup alone. I feel like the matchup is priced in pretty well. They're 6,900 and 6,600. I doubt Woods goes too heavily owned, given that Tyler Lockett's 100 less than him. And then I don't think I have too much interest in Cooper Kupp, given that Keenan Allen, like I said before, is only 200 above him. So all of these guys rated below Brandon Cooks here, I feel like I'll prioritize them mostly in tournaments. I doubt that I'll see any of these guys in my cash games unless I end up with Robert Woods or Cooper Kupp in cash. But I feel like I won't as of now, given that Keenan Allen is only 200 higher than Cooper Kupp and Tyler Lockett is 100 less than Robert Woods. So while the matchup for them is elite, I do feel like it's priced in at this point, and everybody knows that Seattle has a horrible pass defense, and they obviously get into shootouts. So I do feel like they're solid options. Like I don't want to brush it off. Like Cooper Kupp, 20 targets in his last game. Robert Woods had a good game. He had, I think, 28 fantasy points. So I don't want to brush it off by any means, but I feel like I can find better options elsewhere in cash as it stands right now. So to recap the wide receivers, I think the weather is going to be the biggest source of uncertainty this week, but I don't want that to be the reason why I get off of plays that I feel like are great given these other factors. So I think Devontae Adams still a great play. Team total still over 31 points. And Brandon Cooks, he's only 5,600. So it's not restrictive if you put him in your lineup. You're not paying a premium. And so therefore, I don't think the weather should be the clear reason why you get off of a player at 5,600. And Devontae Adams, it's the fact just his overall output and workload for the year. I don't want rain and wind to be the reason why I don't play Devontae Adams. So that's basically a recap there for the wide receivers for the week that I'm interested in. Probably the biggest thing is that I don't see myself playing any of these Rams wide receivers, but we'll see if anything changes. To move on to running backs here for the week, something that I thought was interesting, if you just gather all the players by opportunities per game, so attempts plus targets, you see guys like Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara, and James Robinson up at the top. So obviously Josh Jacobs, I doubt that a guy like him is in play, but obviously in cash, we're always looking to play the volume. But Josh Jacobs, a lot of that volume, the reason why he's not being played in lineups is because a lot of that volume is just rushing attempts. There's not a lot of targets mixed in there into those opportunities. So for this week, what I'm really waiting for running backs, I got fantasy points per game weighted at 20% salary, 35% points per touch, 20% opportunities per game, which I'm using as targets plus rushing attempts at 15% and team total at 10%. So this is what I come up with here. We've got Duke Johnson coming in at the top, followed by Mike Davis. Jamal Williams, he's kind of up there just given his price at just 4,000. Logically, you don't expect to play him at all, but just something interesting there. And then Aaron Jones and Alvin Kamara. So I think this is pretty self-explanatory this week and the decisions that are going to have to be made. So I think it's basically coming down to a combination of, are you playing Giovanni Bernard, Duke Johnson, Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, Mike Davis? So Mike Davis definitely locked in there. And then I think it comes down to, are you playing both Aaron Jones and Kamara, or are you playing just Jones with Gio, or just Jones with Duke Johnson? So I actually think that it could end up being Mike Davis and then one of Gio or Duke Johnson. I doubt that they really score too far apart from each other to the point where it's a massive sync tier lineup. But I think where the Slate deciding decision is going to come where it's either people are playing Kamara or Aaron Jones. So maybe if more people are playing Adams, they feel like they shouldn't play Aaron Jones. But Aaron Jones' price is just 7,100 and Alvin Kamara's price is 8,200. And Aaron Jones in a great matchup. Team total again is there. He's pretty weather independent, right? So where Devontae Adams, the weather affects him, it really shouldn't affect Aaron Jones at all. If anything, it would help him if the weather's bad. Team total still above 31, really not a concern. But the guy that stands out to me a lot, if you're playing Duke Johnson at 5,000, I think the main thought you want to have is if David Johnson were 5,000 and Duke Johnson were out, would David Johnson be a lock at 5K? So I feel like I'm really not sure if he would be, but probably would be, but I'm really not sure. So I do think that options like DeAndre Swift are interesting, but can you justify him over Duke Johnson? Probably not. Can you justify him over Giovanni Bernard? Probably not. But I think DeAndre Swift, if you look at on a points per touch basis here, he's right there at the top at number 3. Duke Johnson, he's up there because I just wanted to plug in his numbers from last week and use that as assistance for projecting this week. So we have him at 15 points over there on the left here. But again, DeAndre Swift, I think this is where a stat like points per touch is really where you can find upside and ceiling for tournaments, because these guys here like DeAndre Swift, Jerick McKinnon, and J.D. McKissic, guys like that. DeAndre Swift, he's great when he touches the ball. The problem is they don't give him the ball as much as they should, and they're still using Adrian Peterson. But if it so happens a week where they do just start giving it all to Swift, it would not be surprising at all to see him in tournament-winning lineups. And he even had that 30-point game already on limited volume. So I think that is a great way to track like future tournament-winning players, a stat like points per touch, because the volume is the problem. It's not the efficiency. So if the efficiency finally gets matched up with the appropriate volume that a player should be seeing, he should have a great week. Okay, so to recap running back here, I think people that are in consideration for cash games at this point in time, I think Duke Johnson, Mike Davis should be a lock. I feel like I would expect him to be like 95% plus in most cash games. So Mike Davis, Aaron Jones, Alvin Kamara, I feel like it's going to be one of them that you end up playing this week. I'm not sure how many lineups we'll see with both of them. But again, that's driven more by the Devontae Adams ownership. So if I'm right about that, where he's high owned as most would expect, then I think people will only roster one of Kamara or Aaron Jones. And the thing about Kamara too is with Michael Thomas coming back, again, last week didn't see much work. That was kind of a fluky game, though, with that blowout. So maybe Michael Thomas starts stealing some of those shorter routes from Alvin Kamara and those shorter targets from Drew Brees. So we'll see what happens there. But at 8,200, Alvin Kamara has I think he has 72 targets on the year. So with Michael Thomas there, I feel like that will not keep up. And also, Latavius Murray still does factor in. So it wouldn't surprise anybody this week if Latavius Murray, vultured Alvin Kamara at some point in the game. It just would not be surprising. And when you're paying 8,200 for a guy, I feel like you don't want that to be a possibility. So beyond him, DeAndre Swift, again, efficiency, and he's just a good player. So if he finally sees the volume, he could easily pop off for a big game. And then Giovanni Bernard and DJ Dallas as well. So DJ Dallas, that's more contingent on the Seahawks backfield. But yeah, so that's basically it for that. Now I want to kick it over to quarterbacks. So at quarterback, as I said in the first look video, it looks like Kyler Murray is finally priced appropriately at 8,000. So I feel like in cash that might be pretty restrictive this week. Even though we have Mike Davis, there's still some high-priced guys that we want to be playing this week. Devontae Adams, maybe another receiver, maybe whether it's from that Seahawks game and whether it's a Seahawk or Ram or Keenan Allen. So I feel like it's pretty restrictive this week to play Kyler Murray. But can he have a massive game that it doesn't matter how restrictive his salary is? Absolutely. But beyond that, I think Baker Mayfield, as you can see, he's the highest rated for me this week in this model here with salary, DK points per game, implied total on the game, and the matchup overall. So Baker Mayfield, he's just 6,000. You like passing attempts with him is always a concern, but I feel like this is a great chance for him. He's can be efficient. He has shown that. So if he's having a solid game and gets the volume, I think he could pop for a decent game at that price tag of 6,000. But I think Tua is probably more interesting at 5,600, right below him, and just obviously that first game from Tua is going to scare a lot of people. Last week he played fine against Arizona, so I feel like you can have confidence playing him. He did have, I believe it was 7 rushing attempts last week for 35 yards. So that even that alone, that's essentially another passing touchdown that you're adding to his score. So we see this a lot with young quarterbacks too, where they tend to scramble out of the pocket early and they don't like see the protection as well. So I do think that makes him interesting. And then Jared Goff, if you're someone who's interested in playing the Rams receivers, logically it would make sense you're going to play Jared Goff as well. But outside of these guys, I think the other cheap quarterbacks don't have the greatest matchups. There is Alex Smith down there at 5,200. There's Drew Lock. Maybe there will be some people chasing him this week. But I don't see myself going in any of those places. I think Kyler Murray for now is reserved for tournaments, as is Aaron Rodgers, at least for me, because I feel like while they're great plays, they're just too restrictive elsewhere. So yeah, Baker Mayfield, Tua, and Goff, I suppose, is where a lot of the ownership could be, and at least for me. Now I want to bring it over to Draftkings to get a look at the tight end position. I doubt that I end up spending up at all this week. It's really not even possible to spend up without Kelsey or Kittle. There's Darren Waller at 5,900, always capable of a solid game, but I doubt he sees much ownership at all, and I doubt that I'll have him at all either. So Mike Gesicki is probably the highest price I would go at 4,300. And then I really think I'll end up on Dallas Goedert, though. If you saw the first look video, I mentioned him there. I think 4,200 is this might be the lowest price he is moving forward. I feel like he did play over 80% of the snaps returning from the injury right before the bye against the Giants. He did not see much production at all. He had 1 catch for 15 yards, but I think at 4,200, he's a great talent. Again, played over 80% of the snaps. Richard Rodgers kind of took that secondary role back to what he had previously. And Dallas Goedert offers a lot of yards after catch as well, which is a lot different from Zach Ertz. So I think that's interesting because he doesn't need a massive volume of targets to produce. So the yards after catch ability is definitely intriguing to me at 4,200. So outside of this, I think the main decision this week again is going to come down to Kamara or Aaron Jones, or if some people actually play both of them and pair them with Mike Davis. But I think there's so many values opening up, like in the form of Duke Johnson, Giovanni Bernard, DeAndre Swift, DJ Dallas potentially. So I feel like all of those guys, like out of all of them, one of them can easily have a game that makes them pay off. So I feel like whoever chooses the right one of that group is who's going to have the best lineup. I'm not sure if it'll be in the form of both Kamara and Aaron Jones this week, just because I think everyone's interested in playing Devontae Adams. Nothing too crazy here, but that's basically going to do it for this week for the main slate breakdown. I hope everyone found some value in this, and I hope it helps you with your lineups this week. So let me know in the comments what you think. Feel free to subscribe or like. Thanks a lot.